Hey everyone, it's Mark here. So today I'm going to talk about the 12-month cost of ownership of having a used Porsche Cayman. And we'll look at whether it's actually cost effective to run. And it turns out the short version is it basically is pretty cost effective, particularly in terms of repairs and other expenses. So the basic backstory to this car is 12 months ago I bought it from Western Australia, then I transported it over to New South Wales, registered it here, and have been running it for the past 12 months. So I incurred a few upfront costs, and we'll look at those versus the costs of actually running the car. So in terms of upfront costs, I obviously had to ship it across the country. So I was shipping it all the way across Australia. That cost me $1,400. Obviously, if you're shipping shorter distances, it will cost you less. In the United States, it still costs a little bit less again. So that's going to depend on your personal circumstances. After I got it over here, of course, I had to go about registering it. So that includes paying taxes. So the taxes here are about 5% of the purchase price. So for me, that was about $2,300 to $2,400. Obviously, that depends on where you're based as to what taxes you're going to be paying, but they're generally pretty standard. After you've got those taxes, you're still not on the road yet, though. You have to go through the insurance process. So for me, I had 3 layers of insurance. The first layer was a warranty. I bought a 3-year warranty for $2,500 just for some peace of mind, given it's a used Porsche. The next thing I bought was compulsory third-party insurance. As the name suggests, this is compulsory if you want to run the car, and you have to take this in case you say injure someone else and insurance needs to pay out. The third layer of insurance is comprehensive insurance, basically in case there's an accident that's my fault that I need to get repairs on my car. That cost me about $3,200. So all up, we have the $2,500 warranty, the $500 for the compulsory third party, and the $3,100 for the comprehensive insurance. I went through about $6,000 in insurance. That's pretty expensive, but obviously, like cars, are going to have similar insurance costs depending on where you're living, of course. So those were the upfront costs: shipping, registration, insurance. Now we can then get to the costs of running the car. So this is where it actually is pretty cheap. So in terms of those costs, you have, for example, the initial tires that you might need to purchase. So I had to purchase one in my case, but you might need to go through a set. They're about 600 each. In addition to that, I had to go through some other consumables. So for me, there was a battery at about $300. Again, not terrible. I didn't have to go through any mechanical repairs. It's actually very reliable. So I didn't need to go through repairing anything in relation to brakes or whatever. I had some brake pads done before I purchased the car. That cost the seller some money. And that's the type of expense you might need to incur on roughly maybe a 2-year basis or so, depending on your driving ability, on driving usage. But it's a cost that might come up. Overall, I haven't had any mechanical repairs though, which means that it hasn't been that costly for me. I've just had tires, I've had batteries, I've had general consumables. In addition to that, of course, you have servicing. Now, the servicing is one where there might be nightmares about this. It only cost me about $1,000 for the servicing, and then about $250 for additional consumables at the time. So about maybe $1,150, $1,200 in total for that type of servicing. A bonus about this is it actually came with roadside assistance for the next year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which saved actually quite a bit of money when you think about how much that would cost you to purchase. In addition to that, it came with these bonus glasses that were perhaps a little bit useful, maybe worth about $10, $20. I guess they were nice to have. Anyway, the servicing wasn't that expensive. I didn't go through that much money on it. And when you take into account the fact that they didn't really have any repairs other than fixing the tire, other than fixing the battery, it's actually been really inexpensive to run. Now, obviously, you'll also go through fuel costs. It does consume quite a bit of fuel, but all cars of this type do. This isn't any worse than some other cars, so it's not one that you'll be particularly concerned about in that respect, and it isn't too terrible in terms of fuel consumption. So overall, those types of running costs are really not that bad. So when you add it all up, you've got the shipping, you've got the registration, you've got the insurance, then you have the running costs. By far the lowest of these were the running costs, and overall it probably cost me maybe $10,000 to run it for the year. When you compare that to similar types of cars, perhaps in this price range, you might be looking at cars that perhaps have worse repair records, for example, and that might cost you a lot more money. So overall, it's been a pretty cheap car to run when you really compare it to the types of alternatives that are out there. And when you think about the fact that the ongoing costs, though the road costs, were actually the smallest component of that 12-month cost for me. So I hope this has been informative to you. I hope it indicates why this is actually a decent daily driver, why it's not that expensive to run, and why I've particularly enjoyed owning it and will be sad to leave it when I eventually sell it. So thanks once again for tuning in. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.